sorry for the inconvenience, guys. So, hello everyone. It is a pleasure meeting you all here in this rather pleasant evening. This is Hanafi Mira, your moderator for the day. It's time we step into phase 2 of the 8 weeks of code, brought to you by the ACM student chapter of University of Colombo School of Computing. Hope you guys were there at the first session because things are about to get real from here on. So, first of all, before we move on to anything, let's get to know a little bit about what ACM is. So ACM is the Association for Computing Machinery. It is the world's largest educational and scientific computing society. So in the last session, we gave you quite a comprehensive intro into ACM student chapter of UCSC and the enterprises that we have undertaken. Of these many enterprises, we have in hand today is the most anticipated 8 weeks of code. 8 weeks of code consists of 8 sessions in total, including 3 mentoring sessions and 5 competitive programming rounds. And now we are currently in phase number 2. So the focal point of today's session is programming with Python. To enlighten us all on this topic, we have in stock a very talented person indeed. It is none other than the speaker of the day, Ramidhu Walgama. A warm welcome to you, Aya. Ramidhu Walgama is a third-year undergraduate at UCSC who has worked at IFS for a whole year while also being a part of UCSC's Team Citizens. As an enthusiast of new technologies such as data science and modern programming languages, he provides solutions by combining math to code. And another fun fact about him is that he is a gaming enthusiast. Hello, Ramidhu. How are you today?
Hi, Mali. It's great.
Yeah, well, that's great. So with that, I'm directing over the spotlight to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Mali. Let's move into what we have today. So, hope you can see my screen. So I have worked at IFS for 1 year, and then in there during that period, I didn't work as a Python developer, but my main language is Python. In there during that time, I was able to provide extra think out of the box and provide some solution for them, and they are currently using it. And one GUI application using Python, and as well as another script for Jenkins jobs. So currently, I'm working mainly focusing on Python, and my main language is Python. So I won't take much time, and let's get what we have today. So first, I will give basic introduction about Python, and then we will move into some complex, not some shortcuts that we can use in hackathons. All right. So later I can show you some other works that I have done, so you can get inspired and do such a thing by your own. So let's start by downloading Python. You can download the Python using the Python official website. So you can go to Python or RG. I think you all have installed Python on your machine. You don't need to download the latest version, by the way. So you download around a 3.9 version, around 3.9, because you will have a lot of dependency issues if you are going through the latest version, because all the packages that supported Python does not support latest version, or maybe they have independent issues. So I will talk about that later. So if you haven't installed, you can download a version like 3.10 or 9 or around there, or even 8 is fine. So once you download it, nothing you have to do is double click and open it and install. So once you install, you can check the Python whether you have installed it correctly. So this is the terminal that you can open a command line and check your Python version whether you have installed it correctly. So this is yeah, I have installed many versions. I will be using yeah. If I type Python version, I can find the Python version here. So this is the default version that comes with the Mac, but if you type Python 3, then you can find the version. So you can enter the Python CLI by typing just Python 3. So here you can experiment many things. To be honest, now when we are working with data sets, like when we dealing with CSV files like larger data sets, we don't open and we see ID and check the data set. Like we open just here terminal and check type pandas, check the header, check headers using these terminals. So you can use a small script, right? Small script here, but for standard, like if you are coding, I recommend to use something like PyCharm, VS Code. It's just fine, whatever you install. PyCharm you can use. I recommend PyCharm because it suggests and intelligence is really great. And you can achieve the same thing with VS Code if you have to install extensions for that. And Jupyter Notebook, Colab, Spider. Spider is another IDE for the Python. So you can install and try out. So let's get started. So the Python and the other languages actually differs from, you may have seen the semicolon me that every other languages use a semicolon. But here, Python don't even use semicolon or even curly brackets. So in a normal programming language, you write something like this, right? Something like this. But in Python, we use semicolons to denote the replace this curly braces. But after that, how do you know that the rest of the no? This was how we write earlier. How do we know the several lines that within this loop? So that is done by using tabs. So I have two tabs here. Now these tab spaces denote that in these tab spaces denote that these two commands are under this block. This is a one execution. There's no semicolon in Python. So that's how differs syntax from other languages. So if I execute this, it will print the both outputs because these both are true. So again, you can comment out Python. In Python, you can comment just using hash. This is a comment. So this is also a comment, but this is not actually officially comment. We don't call it as a comment because this is a string. We will get into that later. This is a string, but it won't be executed because we are not assigning it to anywhere. this is a string, but we can use it as a comment. So moving on, let's see what are the data types that we have in Python. So Python, we have strings. Basically, this is a string. We don't have characters here like in C. We don't need to deal with character arrays. Yeah. So we have strings and numeric types. We have integers, float type 2.01, or complex numbers like these. So the sequence types, which we can iterate, we can use list, tuples. So the difference, in here we have arrays. We have arrays, but we call it as list. In other languages, we call it as arrays. So basically, this is an array. So first index, I have assigned 1. And second, and also another thing, you don't need to worry about the data types in it. Now I can assign an integer as well as a string. This is a string character. And inside the second index, I have first index, 0th index, and the first index, I have assigned an integer. So that is allowed in Python. You don't need to consider the data types of these much. So that is arrays. And tuples are like ordered, sort of ordered list, I would say. And it is mutable. You can change. Once you assign it, you can change. And allow duplicate values. So the another data type, the set differs from this is because set differs from this because set have unique values. Set, if you want to, no, this is a tuple. This is a tuple. Now, if you want to make it a set, that the same syntax, but set cannot have same values. So if I go furthermore, then we have dictionaries. Something looks like this. It is like a hash map. In Java, we call it hash map, and in C, even in C, I think. So key value pairs. We can have key value pairs here. So I'm assigning name as Ramiro and age as 23. And inside the value, we can have any data types, even objects. Now we are dealing with basic data types, primitive data types, but we can have other data types as well. So I can assign it like this and access the element, any element like this. If I run it, it will print out. So if I want to get subjects, I can. So like that, we can use these data types. I will further explain these data types more later. So how can we take an input in Python? So if I want to take an basically input, we can take something like use this syntax. Just input means that it will waiting for an input from the user. Now, in most of the hackathons, you may have seen input you have to take like 3, 2, 2, 3, something like that. You have to take multiple inputs. So in that case, now imagine before that you want to input this. Now this by default get the input as an string. So let's say string. Yeah. So this will read the input as an string. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. It will read as an input. So I will So whatever it is, it will take it as a string. So we have to typecast it. I mean, not, I will come to that later, the typecasting. So if I want to it as a integer, then I have to put integer and typecast it. I will further explain it later. So this will input the value as an integer. So if you want to assign values, like initialize values, actually we don't need to initialize values in here. Like here you have seen that this arrays. If I take this example, now you don't need to assign initialize arrays. Like in other languages, size of the array doesn't matter. Like in Python or sorry, Java or other languages, you have to define the size of the array. But here you don't need to define the size of the array. You can just define it like this. And if you want to assign values, like I'm assigning false here, I can assign. Now this is an array. This is an array. So it has a one value. It has only one value. So if I want 10 times, like array must have 10 false, you want to initialize it 10 times, then you can simply multiply it by 10. Then it will have 10 values here. So that's how Python works. Even string, if you want a string, let's take it as a string. So it will multiply whatever this is by 10 times. That means does not multiply. This is allowed. This is a string and multiplying it 10 times. That means basically it will have 10 times false. So that is allowed in Python, but not in other languages, most of the languages. So that's how, that is very tricky in hackathons. You can easily do manipulations. So we can like now assigning values. If you want to assign a value like x equal 10 integer value, this as I explained integer value, you can assign. But if you want to assign multiple values like x and y, you can do it in a single line. Something like x comma y equal 10 comma 20. The same thing, but with a single line. That's how sweet Python is. So even you can assign the same value twice with a single line like this. So what this does is, the previous example, what that does is assign it 10 to x, assign it 20 to y. So if I change it like this, that does mean assigning 20 to the both of the variable. So that is value, how you assign values and dealing with the inputs. So let's move to the typecast that I discussed here. So in integer, now don't worry about my UI. I'm using a Jupyter notebook here in PyCharm. So you can do it even in Colab. Colab is, you can open a Colab or a Jupyter notebook, whatever it is fine. You can open a Python file, .py file and come run it using, I forgot to say that in first time, Python and the file name. This is the syntax. If you are using VS Code, if you does not have the play button here, then you can type Python 3 and the file name .py, something like that. So I'm using the PyCharm here. So I can click the play button and run it. And I'm using a Jupyter notebook. Don't worry about that. So let's talk about typecasting. What typecasting is. I think you all aware of what typecasting is. It's yeah. This, so yeah, the one reason why I suggest PyCharm is because you get this kind of help. Like if I did a mistake, that it will suggest me to autocorrect. So now let's see when we are doing furthermore. So I assign x equal 10.1. Now if I want to cast it to integer, I can simply do x. If I want to print it, let's print it. In Python, we can use print function to print a value. So x is 10. So here I'm using f string. You don't need to use it. Like you can use something like this as well. But this is similar. Now string concatenation is achieved by plus here. In some other languages, it can be comma, it can be dot. Here in Python, it is plus. So at the same time, I would in this way also the same thing can be achieved. Like if you have many values here and you want to print it in formatting in a way, you can use this format. So that is one. Now if you want to convert other way, now this is integer. If you want to convert it to back to float, wait, I will print it and show you. Yeah, sorry, not int is that you can only convert. Yeah, I'll check that and let you know. Yeah, so the value you can print it like this. So if I want to print it to a float, you can use just float and pass the value. If you want to convert it to string, you can just do it like this. So even in other languages, you can do. You will use in C++. I think you are using X is like percentage %d, right? So this is allowed in Python as well. So you can print it like this. So printing twice the same way. So let's talk about control structures now. What we can do with if, while, and for loops. If it's, I showed you an if example, you don't need brackets here. It is not compulsory. Here I have x equal equal. Then here, if I can now here, look at this here. PyCharm is suggesting me to remove redundant parentheses. So it will optimize our code, make it looks more cleaner. So in if conditions, if x greater than, then we can print it. If now here notice that if else part is going as else, and I won't take that long to explain this stuff, basic stuff. If I want to iterate 10 times, other languages you use for int, you have to define the variable x equal 10 or whatever, 0 from 0 to x less than 20, something like this, right? Something like this. But in Python, we can use this handy way where the range you can pass, this is by default, accepting from 0 to going to the 10. 10 means that it will go 10 times from 0. That means it will go up to 9. will not count 10. So if you want to manually adjust it, like if you want to start from 2, then you can pass the 2 parameter. If you want to go by 2 by 2, then this is start and run 2 by 2. This is the step, this is the starting, and this is the end. 2, 4, 6, 8. So that is the for loop. Then now this is how while loop looks. I have to find it. Hmm. So here, while loops, look at the syntax. This differs from other languages. So I start from 0, I mean assign 0 here and complete up to 9. So from 0 to 9, I have printed here. And you can do this, I think you know. So that is not much complex, right? So let's see how we can use tuples. Now, if you are using a tuple, this is a tuple. As I said earlier, these cannot be changed when you assign, and it will differ. Now, if I set it like this, that means this is a tuple because type even it can be a we can use a set even. So if we have a list like this, list, you don't need to define a list like this. This means you're typecasting into a list. I will come to that later. Now, if I have a list like this, I have a duplicate element here. So what I can do is I can typecast it to a set. So it will remove the redundant, what do you call, yeah, it's just basically it will remove the redundant too. Because what if we want to remove a duplicate element, we can simply use this syntax. So what if I add two tuples, something like this? This is first tuple, then second tuple. What will happen? So it will do like normal arrays. It will add to this, like what we have discussed in here, somewhere here. Right? So this will add two tuples again and create a new tuple. So like that, if we create a list, if we create an array, one, two, three, I'm just now array 2 is something like mm, yeah. So if I add these two, it will basically add the elements of these two into one array. Okay. So then what? That's how Python, very easy, right? You don't need to write another for loop and assign it to another array. You don't. That cumbersome is not here. So that is. But what if we want to add two elements like in separately? I will come to that later in a later section. So let's see. Now this is string, right? So as I said earlier, in most of the cases, hackathons, like giving strings like this, like we have to read this. So what we can do is like, this is string, now I can split by spaces. Now if what it happens is this string being splitted into an array. It is an string array. We can typecast it to an integer, each value. I will come to that later. So this, you can use split function to deal with strings, to convert it to an array. Like I remove the spaces and split it into an array. So in arrays, you can use index to access the array. Now, this should be 1 because the starting index is 0. This should be 1. So even here we can access the minus values. That this is not defined, not actually it is defined, but from the end. That means the length, this is equal to, let's see, this is equal to s dot length. So this is equal to this. Yeah, the length minus 1 actually, because the last index. This is true because these two are equal. Now, that is how you normally access the last index in other languages, right? So here you don't need to type length minus 1. Just is giving minus 1 index is just fine. Even if you want to access the last one before the last, then you can type s minus 2. So if you want to select some from like if you want to select up to second index, then you can type this. Something like this. So yeah, up to the 0 second. The last index is not counted here. Remember that. And if you want to select the other side, you can do something like this. So from here, selecting the rest. This is an array. This is not an array, I split it into array and I'm using an array, not an string here. Keep in mind that. So if you want to select some part of it, now if I want to select 2, 3, 1, 2, then I can assign, select values of that 2, I guess. No, 2, 3. So this means that I'm selecting the subset of this array, this 1, 2, from the first index, this index, including that, up to the third one, the includes without this one. So I have selected these two. So that is how you can deal with arrays, and also you can define, as I said in the for loops, like in here, you can define a step counter. By default it is 1, but sorry, by default it is 1, but you can pass 2. That means one after the other will be selected. This is useful when you are dealing with actually you if you know this something like this is exists, then you can Google and find it. You don't need to memorize everything. This is hackathons are not like memorizing and doing all the things. You can Google it, and if you know this, then you can Google it and then and there do the task. So let's do some appending. Now, if you want to add a value here, s dot append you can use. It will append a value to the array. I have to print it. So yeah, so it will append an array. If you want to remove it, s dot remove is there, and s dot reverse is there, s dot pop is there if you want to remove it, and also s dot sort is there to sort, and s dot insert basically copilot is suggesting me. S dot remove is there. I was about to talk this. What it does is removing at the second value. And also s dot clear you can use to clear the array, or if you want to delete the array, you can just basically delete as that will delete the array. So I don't need to go explain much here. I think it is just simple, easy to understand. So as I said earlier, how can you add two arrays? I will copy these two. So this is let's take that down. So this is what we did earlier, but we couldn't able to add each array, add those two arrays. So how do we add it? You can sorry, this is suggesting here things. Now I can define an array, empty array. First I will run this. I will define an empty array. So I can append elements of each one, the sum of each one. So what it does is adding each one. So this is a handy way where you can short this one. I will tell it later. So what it does is accessing the array index and adding those two array values, and appending that to the array which we declared here. So it will continue till the length of array. And you may have seen in other languages, you don't need to use for I in range like this. You can use, if you want to access the elements of it, you can use just for I, or whatever the thing is a variable. I in array to mean then it will iterate each element in the array. So see, so 1, 2, 3, it will go each element. So let's now look at functions, how to define a function. So in Python, let's define a simple function. This is a simple function. Function name is foo and printing hello. I have to call it. So it will call. I can pass parameters here. You don't need to worry about the data type. Now I'm passing X, and I can print it in, like I use formatting. I can use the formatting. Let's. So here I can pass. See, even it doesn't matter the data types. You don't need to worry. You can pass any data type. Level 3. So that you can specify the data type, like it is actually I can't remember. So like here you can specify the data type, but if you specify, then the interpreter, the Python ID or whatever, it will suggest you to change the value. It will throw an error, and even you can define the return types. This is not returning anything, so it will print it. No difference, right? So, and if you want to return something, you can just type return. Now this will throw an error for sure, because that this is a hint that to the person who reads it. Now I can type int, so it's simple int. So it will just return the value, taking the value and returning it and clicking that int. So that's how functions work, and other functions you can use inbuilt libraries for these, like you can give that 16, and it will square root 16. So there are other functions as well. If you want to take another generate a random number, you can import random and print a random value. Another thing is, now you can import as redefine the import. Now I importing random library, but defining as rm, referring as rm. So here let's see, random number, I'm generating random number between 1 and 10. So like that you can generate any number. Right. Any questions up to here? You can ask question if you have. So I will move on. So here in Python, you can use map function. It is also function. Like if I define its method signature is like this function. It accept a function, and this will be useful for them. Now this is a function. Accept a function, first parameter, and the second parameter is it's an iterable. Iterable is something that you can iterate. So as an example, I will define a function. Example function here. So accepting x as a parameter and returning the length of it. So if I want to, let's say, array. So x dot, yeah, this is what I want to say. So I'm passing this function, function, and it will I'm passing the second parameter as the iterable, which is a list. So if I run this, it will give me an iterable, most probably. Yeah, it is an object. This is a map object. So you have to convert it to a list. This is the typecasting I said earlier. So it will list, give the length of each element in this simple syntax. How many lines you do? That so you got the point, right? Each iteration, whatever this is a function that it accepts one parameter and it's return the length of it. Whatever the parameter it comes, it return the length of it. And what mappy this is, accept that one parameter, accept an iterable, and each iterable using iterate each element and return the length of it, calling this function for each element. and returning the length of each element. So I'm typecasting into a list here. So what it happened is at the end it will give me a list like this. So these are cool features that you can use in hackathons, and we can do map. Use this in taking inputs. What I said this when you are using something like this would be your input. So this here we didn't here we deal with strings, right? What if you want to convert it to integers? You can use the same function map. So I can start. I can use map function to convert this into a integer. So each element, this will be split into uh, split by space and split into array. Hope you can remember here what I did is I take it down. So this is an array, but the string array contains strings. But what if I want to? I hope you remember the split function. And what we want here is to convert them into integer. So integer array. So you can just basically use it will convert everything into integer array. So we can use this to take an input. What you have to do is like basically replace this with input. So what this is taking an input, whatever value we read it as input, a string, and split the values by spaces. You don't need to specify by default. This is a tab space, just a space. You don't need to pass it every time. If you are splitting by comma or other thing, then you have to specify it. So split it, taking the input, split it, the function, map function, it will convert each value into integers, and this will typecast into a list. So let's see what will happen. That you don't need to pass commands. See, it will convert. This only took one line for me to convert the string like this to an integer list, well, integer value list. So you, if you have attended hackathons, you probably need this in your mind. Like every hackathon, you have to read values, and almost every hackathon. So in there, how you read this, you can use this syntax. So like mostly we are dealing with arrays, right? So we can use can typecast it and list. If you want to access only two elements, like input is only two, then you can use the same syntax. But if it is only two, then you can do something like this. What it does is take an input, split by comma and this space, both characters, split by comma and this space, and convert it to integers and map it, the map function used for that, and value, the first value will be assigned to x, then the second value will be assigned to y. Simple as that. So furthermore, we can do lambda functions. Lambda functions is like a single line. You can use single line to define a function. It's like I can't remember how you call this in other languages, but example, if you want to add a 10 to all the values in the list, you can not the list, just a function that you can call this x and pass a value like this. So it will just add the 10 to it. Now, if you want, you can complex this as much as you want. Now, I will define, this is nothing complex here. I'm just defining a function here. If you type pick the type of it, then it will be a function int. So if I want to do some further calculations, like if I something like this. Now we have to define spec in and multiply with yeah, okay. Now what happened here is this is better. I didn't do this. So what happened here is I'm calling my function. It is a normal function and it returns a lambda function. Lambda function means that a simple function taking a and multiplying it by n. So here I'm passing 10 to the my function, and whatever the value, uh, now it passed 10 here. It will basically 10, and this returns a function. Now this is a function. Now here, whatever the value, it is being multiplied by 10 because I passed 10 here. Now, if I want to get a value, this I can use this to generate values. Now, if I want to multiply, now I'm talking about this scope now because now this is hard coded into 10 because I passed 10 here. Now, if I want to multiply it by 5, then it will multiply it by 5 because this returned a function and we can pass another value to it. We can generate values from this. At that point, if you have any questions, you can view at that point. Another Python feature is that shift function. Now if I have a list like this, this one, I want to do highlight. We you can remember the baby added two arrays. Here you can add two arrays the same way with yeah, let's define new array. If you want to add the one two arrays. Yeah, these are two arrays. So these are two arrays. If I want to add them element by element, I can do like this. Now I need to add them. I am adding x, y. What are them? I will define in here. X, y. In what? In where? In this array. Array 1 and array 2. Now this will be a bit complex. Maybe complex. So first I will tell what shift function does. Shift function does is adding, making this same function. What it does is it has key value pairs. Now what it does is array 1 shift with array 2. That means 1 map to 3, 2 map to 2, 3 map to 1. So it has a key value pair. It is not actually a dictionary, but it is a zip object. So what you can do is that contains key value pairs. So what I am doing here, that zip key value pairs, I am defining x and y. This follow. Think about this follow. X and y, reading 1 as x and y as 3. Then adding them. Read it in the reverse order. Don't come from here, just read it from here. Now shipping these values 1 3 2 2 3 1 and considering them as values x and y. 1 is x, 3 is y, and adding them individually x y. So what this is, I print it out, it will print like this. Just a single line to add two arrays. Only I just wanted this line. Previously we did in a longer way, but here we did in a simple way. So yeah, that is one way. You may need this in a hackathons most probably. And you can do single line if else in a similar way. Now I'm giving an example. This is if this is a syntax, similar syntax. Now, if I want to add a plus if x greater than 0, let's say range. Yeah. So what this does is this is read from the end. Range -5 to 5. That means including -5, count it up to 4. So the considering value as x. So x, if x is greater than 0, then assigning the value plus, else minus. If that means value is greater than less than 0. So I here you can see a square bracket. That means I'm typecasting it to a list. So this contains a list of elements. If I didn't mention that, it will consider as a print it separately. So just a single line. You can write. This is like a ternary. Ternary. Other languages you have heard a ternary condition, right? That similar to that with ternary condition means x and something like this. Then that, something like this. I can't remember exactly. Something like that. So single line if else. Furthermore, we can do dictionaries as well. Yeah, I will quickly go through. I'm running out of time now. This is a dictionary. So here, now this is a student dictionary. Contains this dictionary. Sorry, this is an array. Student array. It contains dictionary. this is a dictionary, one dictionary. So this is a one dictionary like that. This is a dictionary, another dictionary, the dictionary like that. So this is a container array. So I have to run. So what I can do is check the score of the values of the students, iterate the students and check the value of them, and I can append when we adding it to the outcomes value, outcome array, and creating a new array and adding it to that. People who are scored that if they are greater than 50, then I can say they passed the exam. So what if I run this? It will say Bob failed exam because Bob got only 42, must exceed 50. And Kelly passed the exam because she got 50. So like that, you can use this code. But this is very lengthy, right? You took consume 1, 2, almost 7 lines, like 6 lines. But you can do that within a single line. That's why Python is cool. Sorry. This is a single line replacement for that. So what it does is read from the end. Reading the students array, considering one student, and for each student, putting into the string that is accessing the name if student score is greater than 50. Else, just printing the fail message. Now here the syntax is little different. So here if the condition successful, then execute this part. Executing this the left hand side. Else, then executing the right hand side. Else executing the right hand side. If this is true, then executing the left hand side. If else, then executing the right hand side. In context of the students array. Hope you got that point. So extra then I can you can like you need to know these kind of thing exist, so you can Google it and find it out at then and there. So another thing you can do is print all the elements like this. So this is a useful function you can right. Outcomes is an array. I can join each element and separate it by a new line. So Bob failed exam, first element, and next element being separated by this new line. I can use even whatever I wish, comma, then it will replace by comma. And yeah, that I have more content, but I will stop from here. I will tell that person. Yeah, this is something that it can do. Just think about it. I will stop from here. So this is, you can use Python for these kind of stuff, like simple stuff. But Python is not limited to do only the hackathons and those stuff. But you can do something like machine learning and stuff. Like this is a script that I wrote to generate our ranking system. This is our ranking system means that we calculate GPA, and this is a script that I use to generate the rankings of the students. Now here we have each semester we have students who got the first ranker got 3.9 GPA, and this is his result. This is generated using Python because these large CSV files easily can be handled using Python. And this is I have used this in several places. And also you can create GUI using Python. Also, this is a small script that I wrote that you can use Python to detect faces. This is there is no module here, but a simple script, short script, like 57 lines, but it will detect faces. Now I have here given data as Mark Zuckerberg's faces. And unknown faces, I have given two faces. One is Elon Musk. It will not detect Elon Musk because the dataset only contains Mark. And still executing it. It will load this and detect his face as well. It will take some time. So, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can post in the chat. I will conclude the session now. Yeah, this is the photo, the other photo. So just the 60 lines, you can detect faces just using a single line. You can create more further models with these, right? So that's all from me. Over to you, the moderators. If you have any questions, you can post.
So thank you very much, Vidya. It was, as a matter of fact, so much better than we hoped it to be, and it was all thanks to you, Aya. So before moving on to this occasion, something to remember. And for that, I would like to invite you all to join us on a virtual group feed. Let's seize the moment by taking a snap. So switch on your cameras and do set the photo we share in the chat as your virtual background. Okay. You can now download the virtual background from the chat and set it as the virtual background. And let's switch on our cameras now. Let's wait a while until everyone switches on the cameras. Okay, so if we're all ready, our team will take a few photos, and so put on an eccentric smile, a techie smile, if you would. All right, so thank you all. So now it's time to quench the thirst of those inquisitive brains. The participants can unleash their curiosity now. You can either unmute yourself and ask the questions or post it to the chat. Our speaker will gracefully attend to your questions. In the meanwhile, while everyone gets ready with their questions, we do have a set of questions that were sent to us from our delegates earlier, which I will read to you now, Aya. So, if possible, please answer the questions. So, one of the most important question is one person has asked, what does the pass statement do in Python?
Which function?
Pass statement.
Past. Wait. Actually, I can't remember. What I do is Google. So, past. There is no past function in Python. Past means
Pass.
past. All right. Yeah, you don't need to memorize everything, but what you do is what you can do is just Google it and then and there and find it out. So the pass is what is you can skip one iteration in a for loop. So that what it does.
Okay, thank you. And another question is they asked about the purpose of a decorator in Python. They asked, how about creating and using a decorator?
Yes, decorators. All right. The decorators you can use to decorate string like to upper or lower. That's what you can do. It's like a text dot upper or text dot lower or the capitalize. You can use this function to decorate the text in the way you want.
Okay, thank you, Aya. And just one more question they wanted to ask you, if you don't mind. They were asking about the yield keyword, Aya. Yield keyword. So the purpose of the yield keyword in Python and how it works with generators. Yield.
I didn't get the question.
Yield, Y-I-E-L-D.
I yield.
Hmm.
Yeah, give me a second. Yield. Yeah, actually, I can't remember that part. Yeah, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, wait. So there's another question. What's the difference between a class method and a static method in Python?
Yes, in Python it is not different to Python, but in general, class methods are, what is the question? Class method then static, right?
Class method and static method.
Yes. You have to have a class object. You have to create an object first in order to call the class method. But if it is inside a class method, you can have static functions or a normal methods. But if it is a static method, then you don't need to create an object. You can call the class name dot function. But if it is a class method, then you have to call it like create object first. Then through the object dot, you can call the class method. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. And also the difference between Python 2 and Python 3. That's another question they asked.
Yeah, the question is like there is a small changes like the Python 2 they used print space the value, but in here I used the print within brackets I put the values. So there is no much difference, but in dependencies there is a huge difference in Python version. version difference. Like if you are using 2, then now we don't use 2 actually. Even the Mac by default comes with 2. But 3 and 2, the small differences. But if you're considering about libraries, we use Python 3 onwards, like the as I said, like 3.8, something like that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and there's just another question in the chat. It's been given in the chat.
Right. Is SDR by to print, which is preferable? You can do this. Wait. STD out you are using in C, right? You are talking about C, right? Is it? Am I correct? Shafras? No response. He's not responding. Is there any other question?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Aya. Now I would like to take a moment to appreciate our distinguished speaker here for the day, Rami Dualgama, for having made this vivid presentation. Thank you so much, Aya, for taking the time and for your dynamic demonstration. Thank you very much for joining with us today. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure with you. And by the way, to all the delegates, your feedbacks is of utmost importance to us because this would greatly aid in the betterment of our team. So we kindly request everyone to take a moment and fill out the feedback form provided in the chat right now. Please be kind enough to fill them and send it to us. So the feedback form has been provided in the chat now. As we have reached the end of today's session, my heartfelt appreciation goes out to each and everyone who has joined and stayed with us until the very end. See you all again with something more inspiring. Till then, signing off from you is us, the ACM student chapter of UCSC. Goodbye and good night.